Hey cruisers! Today we're going to answer a very popular question. Yes, you know what it is because you saw the video's title, but first we have something even more important to share. We want to tell you where you can find reviews, photos, and tips from real, verified, everyday cruisers. It's our sponsor, cruiseline.com. It's a very cool site, and if you love cruising, you'll want to get familiar with it as a pre- and post-cruise resource. Check them out directly by clicking the link in the notes below. Alrighty. What should I wear on my Royal Caribbean cruise is a question we get quite often. And while we've briefly addressed the question in the past, we realized it's still a source of concern and even controversy, particularly when it comes to the good old formal night, right? Maybe you don't like to dress up and wonder what is acceptable for admittance to the dining room. Or perhaps you love to dress up but don't want to be the only one in an evening gown or a tux on formal night. Well, we're going to try and clear that all up for you. And we have pictures. Royal Caribbean lists its suggested dinner attire on its website. But come on, that's just boring and maybe even a little confusing. Still, if you'd rather head over to their site, you can find a lot of this information there, but you won't see our photos. So let's get a couple of standard questions out of the way for those of you that just want me to cut to the chase. All right. Do I have to wear an evening gown or a tux on formal night? No, you don't. Can I wear an evening gown or tuxedo on formal night? Yes, you can. Okay, now let's get into some of the finer details of the dress code. First off, Royal Caribbean doesn't go into a lot of detail when it comes to their dress code. They simply say, when you're on board, the right look will vary by venue. And they go on to offer a few types of suggested attire, which we'll cover shortly. Since they don't specify what items are not permissible, the guidelines they do provide are subject to interpretation. The dress code for the main dining room has been trending toward a more relaxed style lately, but Royal Caribbean does maintain a tiny bit of traditional cruise formality and breaks the suggested attire into 3 separate categories: casual, smart casual, and formal. So let's take a look at these categories, starting with casual. Casual clothes are what you'd wear around the ship in public areas during the day and evening for anything from meals in the dining rooms to activities. For casual attire, Royal Caribbean says, and this is a quote from their website, "You're on vacation, relax. Jeans, shorts, tees, tank tops, polos, sundresses, and blouses are all the right amount of laid back, but please keep swimwear to the pool deck." During the day on most warm weather cruises, casual clothes, swimsuits, swimsuit cover-ups, and even activewear can be seen all over the ship. Now, Royal Caribbean doesn't want you to try to show up for lunch in the buffet or main dining room in a dripping wet swimsuit, but the vibe is really casual. So pack those flip-flops, hats, and your favorite casual wear and focus on comfort. Now, if you're cruising with kids, don't forget to pack sun protective clothing if you can. Rash guards and cool hats are everywhere these days, and you'll be less concerned with reapplying SPF if your kids are more covered up. Here's a look at a couple of outfits we would typically pack for casual dinners and even for sea days around the ship. Think of something you'd wear to an everyday restaurant back home. For men, casual pants, even jeans, and more casual collared shirts are great. For women, it's the same idea. I like to think of my dinner outfits as resort wear type outfits, including casual dresses or maybe even nicer jeans, especially on that first night of the cruise, when everyone tends to be more casual after a long day of travel. For kids, there are tons of options and flexibility. We just keep our little guy in clean clothes that aren't considered swimwear and we're good to go. Here are a few photos we snapped at the mall of common casual wear. let's move on to the smart casual category. What the heck is smart casual anyway, and when would you dress that way? We hear this a lot on cruises, so let's see how Royal Caribbean defines it. Royal Caribbean says, think of this as a step up from your typical dinner wear. Dress to impress with jackets, sport coats, blazers, collared shirts, dresses, skirts and blouses, or pantsuits. This is probably the category you'll see the widest range of interpretation and the most confusing to people. We kind of think of this as being similar to what you might wear to a more formal office environment, or perhaps as a wedding guest. Think back to the last wedding you attended. The majority of men were likely in slacks, a collared shirt with a tie, and perhaps a suit coat, but there are probably a handful in polos or Hawaiian shirts as well, right? Women wear in a variety of outfits from full-fledged cocktail dresses to sundresses and pantsuits. You'll probably see the same when it comes to the smart casual category on a cruise. Smart casual usually applies when you go to one of the upscale specialty restaurants on board, if that helps. Here are some examples for what could pass as smart casual on board. For the formal category, we'll quote Royal Caribbean again. It says, make it a night out in your best black tie look, suits and ties, tuxedos, cocktail dresses, or evening gowns. Formal night is usually the biggest area of concern for most new cruisers. We think the idea with formal nights is pretty obvious. It's a chance to break out your finest clothes and experience the traditional grandeur and elegance of a traditional cruise dinner, whatever that means to you. Personally, we love this tradition. I used to shop months in advance for the perfect formal night dresses, and my husband would pack or rent a tuxedo on board. There are a lot less tuxes on formal nights these days, and my husband was getting tired of people asking him where the bathroom was, because he looked like a crew member. So now we're a little bit less formal. I usually wear cocktail dresses or a longer evening gown type style. Here's a look at a couple of examples. When it comes to formal nights, we say common sense should be your guide. If you want to go all out and dress up, by all means, please do so. That's the whole idea. On the other hand, if you just don't like dressing up, there are options for you too on formal night. You could skip the main dining room and head to the buffet. You could order room service or dress the way you want and take your chances in the main dining room. Royal Caribbean says they will enforce the dress code, but the reality is it's tough for the staff to manage. Of course, there is another option, and that is the specialty restaurants, but those have their own dress code, not to mention usually additional fees. Royal Caribbean recommends smart casual for specialty restaurants and mystery dinner theater. So yeah, expect to dress up a little if you explore those options. And speaking of dressing up a little, what about the kidlets? Well, the same rules apply to the little ones as well. But if you have kids, you probably already know how to handle this one and how there might be just a little more flexibility when it comes to children and the dress code. On formal nights, we typically deck out our little man with nice slacks, a shirt, tie, and vest ensemble, and he looks sharp for about 10 minutes. All right, here's a secret. Instead of trying to force him into painful dress shoes, we usually put him in some nice, clean, all black sneakers, and it usually works out pretty well for us. Nobody's ever kicked us out of the dining room because he wasn't wearing dress shoes. Catch my drift? To wrap this all up, you'll notice that Royal Caribbean calls this suggested attire, and they don't list everything you can't wear. So of course, we don't want you to feel like we're saying you have to wear this or you can't wear that. We're only trying to provide a little guidance for people who are truly looking for help with an often confusing topic. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to follow us on social media at Cruise Tips TV. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And click the link in the description if you want to check out our awesome sponsor, cruiseline.com. Thank you all so much for the massive amount of thumbs up on the last video. And until next time, we'll see you on the high seas. Bye!
Hey, click me to subscribe.
You wearing that?